Hello, my name is Rafael Seiz Ortiz. I belong to the Universitat Politécnica de Valencia and specifically to the Department of Applied Linguistics. And in this video, I'm going to present a theoretical framework for content and language integrated learning assisted by information and communication technologies, ICTs. I'll start with a brief introduction followed by the proposal of the framework for ICT-assisted CLIL, and I will finish with some words to conclude and to give some ideas for further research. The objectives of this presentation is to provide a context for pedagogical evaluation in general of computer-assisted language learning, in particular with the approach known as CLIL, and also to discuss some links between CLIL and ICTs, and to suggest a theoretical framework for ICT-assisted content and language integrated learning. Nowadays, CLIL, content and language integrated learning, is important in bilingual education and in education in general, both at secondary and higher education contexts. Actually, we have to use ICTs, on the other hand, in language learning in an integrated way. What does it mean? We have to use it not for its own sake, but for tasks that we couldn't do before the use of these technologies, or for tasks or activities that we could do before, but with the integration of these technologies, we can do them in a better way, more efficiently. That's why it is important to integrate ICTs with CLIL, but always with pedagogical parameters or criteria in mind. So we are going to propose a theoretical framework to analyze ICT-assisted CLIL and including in the future a pedagogical evaluation tool, a database, or a typology of learning resources, but we are not going to cover this in this presentation. The framework is going to allow us to contextualize every individual action that we can carry out in order to analyze or account for the fact of teaching and learning languages with a CLIL approach assisted by ICTs. So it's going to help us to better understand not only the potential of this environment for CLIL and for language learning, but also the actual use, the real use of ICTs to implement a CLIL approach, the real possibilities. So it is going to be useful in the analysis, evaluation, design, and pedagogical implementation of ICTs to implement CLIL methodology. It comprises 8 dimensions divided into 3 big areas with 3 possible types of focus, with the aim of making the analysis of ICT-based CLIL more coherent, efficient, and actually more in line with research. Here we have the framework at a glance in the form of a table. We have 8 dimensions, the foundations of the analysis and the aim of the analysis. We will discuss them in turn next. 3 areas for the analysis that give us the context of this analysis, and 3 types of focus: the purpose, the perspective, and the CLIL emphasis. We'll start with the first component, the theoretical base. The research in different areas to do with language learning and education will give us interesting ideas to incorporate in the framework. These ideas, these insights can be topics of interest for research, or research findings that can be more or less certain or conclusive. The next component of the framework is the pedagogical characteristics. These are the parameters given by design that we can observe in the different resources. For example, the parameters that we can study with a database or a rubric of evaluation. And they are directly taken, these criteria and parameters of the database, of the the framework are directly based on the theoretical base, which is the previous component. We have next the pedagogical applications that can be specific, that is, the practical use of these characteristics in a specific context of educational context. Or they can be, these applications can be general, referring to more general pedagogical approaches and teaching learning methodologies. Here we have some examples. The next component is depicted in this graph, the 5 active components or agents within the ICT-assisted CLIL process. The teacher and the learner on the one hand, but also the content which is being taught, the educational context which is broader, and the medium which has to do with technology. Within each of these 5 active components we can study specific aspects or several of them, and here we have some examples of the things or aspects that we can study under each aspect. The next part of the framework is the learning outcomes. We can study, we will focus our research also on the learning outcomes, that is, the real learning accomplished by real students under certain circumstances, the degree of effective learning that has been taken place. The next part is the pedagogical content, which is a descriptive analysis of the content, the activities, the different topics covered in the resources, etc. The next part is the pedagogical level, linguistic level. We can use for this component of the framework different sets of criteria, but the most common and standard one would be the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. Here we have the link to one of the places where you can find it. The next and last part of the framework has to do with the language learning teaching process. We have divided this arguably in 5 different parts, and we can concentrate or focus our research objectives on any of these or different parts of this process. The first one, the pre-development and needs analysis. The learning materials development, which has to do with design. The pedagogical use of the resources. The materials evaluation from a pedagogical perspective, or the actual learning that is taking place. Here we have again the framework after the explanation of the different parts or components of the framework. Depending on each individual study, we can focus or signal one of these parts of the framework. 8 dimensions, 3 areas, and 3 focus. So each individual pedagogical analysis or action that we can carry out in order to analyze the implementation of CLIL through ICTs can be, on the one hand, associated to one of or several dimensions of the framework, theoretical base, pedagogical characteristics, etc. And on the other hand, it can be studied with a focus. That's it, with a purpose, analysis or evaluation is not the same, from a perspective, the author's or the user's perspective, or with an emphasis on one of the CLIL components, the 4 C's of the CLIL methodology. In conclusion, it was important in the framework to jointly study and discuss CLIL and ICT together in order to carry out a good pedagogical use of ICTs for CLIL. We have proposed a framework to contextualize every individual action that we can carry out in order to analyze ICT-assisted CLIL. The various actions that we can carry out, and future possible research studies would include the improvement of the framework, the typology of the different aspects, dimensions of the framework, and also we could carry out studies in order to validate the evaluation tool and the typology proposed. Thank you very much.